In March 2003, a woman in Silverton, New Mexico, opened her mailbox and found a letter with no return address. The postmark was smudged, but showed a small town in Missouri she'd never heard of. Inside was a single piece of notebook paper with 3 words written in handwriting she hadn't seen in 8 years. "I'm not alone." Her daughter had been missing since June 1995. And those 3 words would crack open 2 cold cases in 2 different states and reveal a truth no one had imagined. This is the story of a mother who refused to give up, of a daughter who chose leaving a trace over making an escape, of how 3 words on a piece of paper connected 2 families separated by 1,000 miles and 8 years of not knowing. March 7th, 2003. Silverton, New Mexico. Linda Hayes stood at her mailbox holding the envelope like it might disappear if she moved too fast. The handwriting was older, shakier than she remembered, but it was Megan's. She'd know her daughter's handwriting anywhere. The envelope had been mailed from somewhere in Missouri. No return address, just her name and the Silverton address Megan had lived at before she disappeared. Linda's hands shook as she read the 3 words again. "I'm not alone." Not "help me," not "I'm alive," not "come find me." "I'm not alone." She read it 10 times, trying to understand, trying to decode what Megan was telling her after 8 years of silence. Linda got in her car and drove straight to the Silverton Police Department. The officer at the front desk recognized her. Everyone in Silverton knew Linda Hayes, the woman whose daughter had vanished 8 years ago, the woman who still called every month asking about updates. "Mrs. Hayes, what can I help you with?" "I need to see Detective Torres. It's about Megan." The officer's expression shifted, sympathy mixed with something that looked like exhaustion. "He's in a meeting right now. Can I take a message?" "No, I need to see him now. I got a letter. From Megan." The officer hesitated, then picked up the phone. "Let me see if he's available." 5 minutes later, Linda was sitting in a small conference room. Detective Mike Torres came in with another officer, a younger man Linda didn't recognize. Torres looked tired. 8 years of unsolved cases did that to people. "Mrs. Hayes, Officer Jenkins said you received a letter?" Linda held it out. "It came today. It's from Megan." Torres took it carefully, read it, looked at the postmark, handed it to the younger officer. The younger officer, his name tag said Martinez, looked at it and shook his head slightly. "Mrs. Hayes, I'm sorry, but this could be anything. People hear about missing children cases, and sometimes they send families cruel letters. It happens more than you'd think." "This is her handwriting. Handwriting can be forged," Martinez said, "and even if it's real, this doesn't give us much to work with. 3 words and a Missouri postmark, that's not a lot." Torres was still looking at the letter. Hadn't said anything yet. Martinez continued. "I understand you want this to be from your daughter, but the likelihood that this is actually from her, after 8 years of no contact, is very low. Someone could be playing a very cruel joke on you." Linda felt her chest tighten. "You're not going to investigate?" "We'll file a report," Martinez said, "but you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that this isn't real, that someone is trying to hurt you." "My daughter is alive. She's trying to tell me something." "What's she trying to tell you?" Martinez asked. "What does 'I'm not alone' mean?" "I don't know yet, but it means something." Martinez exchanged a look with Torres, the kind of look that said he thought Linda was grasping at nothing. That grief had made her see things that weren't there. Torres finally spoke. "Mrs. Hayes, can I keep this? I'd like to take a closer look." "Yes, please." Martinez stood up. "I'll file the report." "Mrs. Hayes, I'm sorry. I know you want answers. But this letter, it's probably not what you think it is." He left. Torres stayed sitting across from Linda. "You don't agree with him," Linda said. It wasn't a question. Torres was quiet for a moment. "I worked your daughter's case from day one. Spent months on it before it went cold. I've always wondered what happened to Megan." "Do you think the letter is real?" "I think it's worth looking into. Martinez is right that people send fake letters to families all the time. But something about this..." He tapped the paper. 3 words. No demands, no drama. Just, "I'm not alone." That's specific. That's purposeful. "So you'll investigate?" "I'll look into it. Can't promise anything, but I'll try to trace the postmark. See if there's anything we can learn from the Missouri connection." Linda felt tears burning. "Thank you. Everyone else thinks I'm crazy for still hoping." "You're not crazy. You're a mother. That's what mothers do. If you've ever had someone believe you when everyone else thinks you're wrong, when everyone else has given up, you know the relief Linda felt sitting in that conference room. Torres said he'd call her if he found anything. Linda drove home and sat at her kitchen table staring at the photocopy Torres had made for her. "I'm not alone." What did it mean? Who was with Megan? Why hadn't she written more? Linda had spent 8 years asking questions, 8 years searching, 8 years refusing to give up when everyone else, her family, her friends, even other parents of missing children, had gently suggested she needed to move on. But Linda couldn't move on. Because moving on meant accepting that Megan was dead. And Linda had never believed that, had always felt, deep in the place where mothers know things, that Megan was alive somewhere. And now she had proof. June 15th, 1995, 8 years earlier, Silverton, New Mexico. Megan Hayes was 12 years old that summer. Blonde hair, usually in a ponytail, always carried a book in her backpack, had just finished 6th grade and couldn't wait for middle school in the fall. She'd been begging Linda for months to let her ride her bike to and from school. Said she was old enough. Said all her friends got to ride bikes. Said Silverton was safe and nothing bad ever happened here. Linda had said no at first. Megan was her only child, and the thought of her riding alone made Linda nervous. But Megan kept asking, kept promising she'd be careful, kept pointing out that the route was straightforward, and she'd never be more than 10 minutes from home. Finally, Linda had said yes, because Megan was responsible. Because Silverton was the kind of town where people knew each other, where kids could play outside without parents worrying, where crime was almost non-existent. Population 6,800, nestled in the high desert of southwestern New Mexico, surrounded by red rock and scrubland, close enough to the mountains to feel protected. The kind of town where doors weren't always locked, where neighbors watched out for each other, where nothing bad was supposed to happen. Megan had been thrilled, had thanked Linda 100 times, had promised to always ride straight home, no detours, no stops. For 3 weeks it worked perfectly. Megan left school at 3:20 every day, rode straight home, arrived by 3:30. Linda would hear the front door open, would hear Megan drop her backpack in the hallway, would hear her call out, "I'm home." On June 15th, Linda was in the kitchen making snacks when 3:30 came and went. At 3:45, she started getting worried. At 4:04, she called the school. They said Megan had left on time. Her friend Sarah had walked with her to the bike rack, had watched her ride away at 3:20. At 4:15, Linda got in her car and drove the route Megan would have taken. Through downtown Silverton, past the library, down Main Street, left onto County Road 12. At 4:23, Linda saw Megan's bike. It was lying, on its side near the edge of the road, where the pavement ended and desert scrubland began. The front wheel was still spinning slightly, like it had just been dropped. Megan's backpack was on the ground a few feet away, books scattered in the dirt, her blue water bottle lying in the weeds. But Megan was gone. Linda got out of the car calling her daughter's name, ran to the bike, looked around. Nothing. No one. Just empty desert and the sound of wind. She called 911 from her cell phone, told them her daughter was missing, that her bike was abandoned, that something was wrong. The dispatcher said, "Stay where you are. Officers are on the way." Linda stayed. Kept calling Megan's name. Kept looking at the bike, the backpack, the books. Kept thinking this couldn't be happening. Not here. Not in Silverton. Not to Megan. Police arrived within 10 minutes. Within 20 minutes, more officers. Within an hour, volunteers from town. Within 2 hours, the FBI. They searched the desert. Brought in dogs. Set up roadblocks. Interviewed everyone who'd been in the area between 3 and 4 that afternoon. Nobody had seen anything. No cars reported on County Road 12 around 3:30. No witnesses. No signs of struggle beyond the bike and belongings left behind. The bike wasn't damaged. The books weren't torn. Everything looked like Megan had simply stopped, dropped everything, and walked away. But 12-year-old girls don't walk away from their bikes in the middle of empty roads. They don't disappear in broad daylight in towns where everyone knows everyone. Detective Torres worked the case day and night for the first 3 months. Interviewed everyone in Silverton, the school bus driver who'd been on that route, the owner of Garcia's Market who'd been closing up shop around 3:30, Mrs. Henderson who lived on County Road 12 and had been in her garden that afternoon. Everyone was questioned. Everyone had alibis. Nobody stood out. Torres checked backgrounds, looked for anyone with a record, anyone who'd shown unusual interest in children, anyone who'd been in the area and didn't belong. Nothing. By September, the search parties had stopped. By October, the FBI had moved on to other cases. By December, Detective Torres had been assigned new investigations. Megan's case went cold. But Linda never stopped, couldn't stop. Every day she woke up and Megan was still missing. Every day she thought about where her daughter might be. Every day she refused to believe Megan was dead. She joined a support group for parents of missing children, met other mothers and fathers who'd lost kids. Some of them had found their children, usually deceased. Some of them had given up hope. Some of them, like Linda, still searched. Linda wrote letters to every missing children organization in the country, to every cold case unit, to every volunteer group that helped families search. She kept Megan's case active, kept her face in the news, kept calling Detective Torres every month asking if there were updates. There never were. Her sister Karen told her she needed to let go. Her friends gently suggested therapy. Even the support group leader said sometimes accepting was healthier than hoping. But Linda couldn't accept, couldn't let go, couldn't stop hoping. Because Megan was out there. Linda knew it, felt it, and she wouldn't stop searching until she found her. Our community of parents who've lost children knows there's no right way to grieve. Some people find peace in letting go. Some people find purpose in never giving up. Both choices are survival. Both choices are valid. Linda chose hope, chose searching, chose believing her daughter was alive even when everyone else thought she was chasing ghosts. And in March 2003, 8 years after Megan disappeared, Linda got a letter that proved she'd been right all along. March 2003. Present day again. Detective Torres called Linda 3 days after she'd brought him the letter. "Mrs. Hayes, can you come to the station? I found something." Linda drove there immediately. Torres met her in the same conference room. He had the letter on the table along with several printed documents. "I traced the postmark. It came from Branson, Missouri, small town in the Ozarks. I contacted the post office there. They said it was dropped in a public mailbox on Main Street. No way to know who mailed it." "So we can't trace it?" "Not directly. But I started thinking about what 'I'm not alone' might mean. If Megan is alive and being held somewhere, and she's saying she's not alone, that suggests someone else is with her. Linda's breath caught. Another girl. Maybe. So I ran a search through the FBI's missing persons database, looking for girls around Megan's age who disappeared around the same time. I filtered for cases that went cold, cases with no bodies found. He spread out several printed pages, photos of missing children, names, dates, locations. There were 43 girls, aged 10-14, who went missing in the U.S. in 1995 and were never found. Most of them have been presumed dead, but a few cases stood out. He pointed to one photo, a blonde girl with blue eyes and a shy smile. Natalie Cooper, 12 years old, disappeared from Cedar Springs, Georgia on August 22, 1995, 2 months after Megan. Similar age, similar appearance. Case went cold. No leads, no body, nothing. Linda stared at the photo. Do you think she's with Megan? I don't know, but it's worth looking into. I'm going to contact the Georgia authorities, see if there's any connection. What about the family? Have they been searching? Torres hesitated. According to the case file, the family held a memorial service in 1997. They believe Natalie is deceased. But what if she's not? What if she's with Megan? Then we need to find them both. But Mrs. Hayes, I need you to understand, this is still a long shot. The letter might not be from Megan. And even if it is, connecting it to another case from 8 years ago in a different state is difficult. But you'll try? I'll try. I promise. Linda left the police station with her mind racing. Another girl? Natalie Cooper. Disappeared the same year as Megan. 2 girls missing. 2 families destroyed. And maybe, impossibly, those 2 girls were together somewhere. Linda couldn't wait for Torres to contact Georgia authorities. Couldn't wait for official channels. She needed to do something now. She went home and started searching online, looking for missing children organizations, volunteer groups, anyone who might have information about Natalie Cooper's case. She found a website run by a woman named Patricia Chen, who compiled databases of cold cases, who looked for patterns, connections, similarities between disappearances that law enforcement might have missed. Linda sent her an email, explained about Megan, about the letter, about Natalie Cooper. Patricia responded within an hour, said she'd been tracking both cases, said she'd always thought there might be a connection, but could never prove it. Said she had contact information for Natalie's mother, a phone number. But Linda, Patricia wrote, the Cooper family moved on years ago. They held a memorial service. They believe Natalie is gone. Calling them might open wounds they've spent years trying to heal. Are you sure you want to do this? Linda looked at the letter again, at Megan's handwriting, at those 3 words. I'm not alone. Yes, she was sure. She picked up the phone. Linda Hayes sat at her kitchen table staring at the phone number Patricia Chen had sent her. Karen Cooper, Cedar Springs, Georgia, mother of Natalie Cooper, missing since August 1995. Patricia's warning echoed in her mind. They held a memorial service. They believe Natalie is gone. Calling them might open wounds they've spent years trying to heal. But Linda couldn't not call. If there was even a chance that Natalie was with Megan, that those 3 words meant what Linda thought they meant, she had to try. She dialed before she could change her mind. The phone rang 3 times. Then a woman answered. Hello? Is this Karen Cooper? Yes, who's calling? Linda's hands were shaking. My name is Linda Hayes. I'm calling from New Mexico. My daughter Megan went missing in 1995, and I was given your number by someone who... I don't want to talk about this. Karen's voice was firm, but not unkind, like she'd had this conversation before. My daughter is gone. I've accepted that. I made peace with it years ago. Please, just listen for a minute. No, I spent years searching, years hoping, years destroying myself trying to find her. It nearly killed me. And then I let go. I had to let go, or I wouldn't have survived. That's why I gave permission for my number to be shared with other families, so I could tell them what took me too long to learn. Sometimes you have to accept that they're gone. But what if they're not? Gone? Linda's voice cracked. What if they're still alive? Karen was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was gentler. I know you want to believe that. I believed it too for a long time. But after 8 years, you have to face reality. I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you want to hear, but holding on to false hope will destroy you. It's not false hope. I got a letter from Megan 3 days ago. Karen didn't respond right away. Linda could hear her breathing. Mrs. Cooper, are you still there? What did the letter say? Just 3 words. I'm not alone. That's all. But it was her handwriting. I know it was, and I think she's trying to tell me there's someone else with her. The silence on the other end lasted so long, Linda thought Karen had hung up. Then Karen's voice came through, barely above a whisper. What did you say the words were? I'm not alone. Why? Karen made a sound that was half sob, half gasp. Oh my God! Mrs. Cooper? What's wrong? I got a note, too, 3 years ago, 2000. Just a scrap of paper in an envelope. No return address. Same 3 words. I'm not alone. Same handwriting as my daughter's. I thought I was losing my mind. That grief had made me see things that weren't there. I never told anyone. Not even my husband. I threw it away because I thought it would drive me crazy if I kept believing. Linda couldn't breathe. The same words, exactly the same? Yes, I'm not alone. Nothing else. Just those 3 words. Then they're together. Your daughter and mine, they're together. Karen was crying now. Linda could hear it through the phone. I thought she was dead. I've thought she was dead for 8 years. I let her go. I said goodbye. But she's not dead. Neither of them are. They're somewhere together and they've been trying to tell us. If you've ever discovered that the thing you gave up on, the hope you buried, might actually be true, you know the mixture of joy and guilt and terror Karen felt in that moment. They stayed on the phone for over an hour, compared every detail they could remember. Both girls had been 12, both blonde, blue-eyed, similar height and build. Both had disappeared from small towns in 1995. Both cases had gone cold with no evidence, no witnesses, no leads, and both had somehow managed to send notes saying the same thing. I'm not alone. Linda told Karen about the recent letter, about the Missouri postmark, about Detective Torres starting to investigate. Karen said she'd kept the note from 2000, even though she'd told herself she'd thrown it away, had hidden it in a box in her closet because she couldn't quite bring herself to destroy it. I need to find it, Karen said. If it has a postmark, if there's any information, yes, find it. And I'm going to call Detective Torres right now. Tell him about this. Mrs. Hayes, Linda, do you really think they're alive? After 8 years? Yes, I do, and I think we're going to find them. After hanging up with Karen, Linda called Torres immediately, told him about the conversation, about Karen's note from 2000, about the identical messages. Torres was quiet for a long moment. Then, Mrs. Hayes, this changes everything. If both girls sent the same message 3 years apart, that's not coincidence. That's deliberate. That's a pattern. So you believe me now? I never stopped believing you. But this is evidence. This is something we can work with. I'm calling the FBI right now, and I need you to get me Karen Cooper's contact information. Linda gave him the number. Hung up. Sat at her kitchen table and cried. For 8 years she'd been searching alone. For 8 years, people had told her to give up, to move on, to accept that Megan was gone. And now she wasn't alone anymore. Karen was searching too. 2 mothers connected by daughters who'd found each other somehow, wherever they were. Detective Torres called the FBI field office in Tontitua, Albuquerque. Spoke to Special Agent Rachel Martinez, who specialized in child abduction cases. He explained about the 2 letters, the 2 girls, the 8-year gap, the Missouri connection. Martinez listened without interrupting. When Torres finished, she said, "I'm getting on a plane to New Mexico tomorrow. We need to reopen both cases immediately." "You think they're connected?" 2 girls, same age, same appearance, disappeared the same year from small towns in different states. Both cases went cold with identical circumstances. No evidence, no witnesses. Both somehow managed to send letters with the same 3-word message years apart. "Yes, Detective Torres. I think they're very connected." "What are we looking at here?" "Someone who took both of them. Someone who's been holding them for 8 years. Someone who either got careless or the girls got smart enough to find ways to communicate." Torres felt his chest tighten. "You think they're still alive?" "The letters suggest they are. But Torres, 8 years is a long time. We need to move fast." The next morning, Special Agent Martinez arrived in Silverton with 2 other agents. They set up in the police station conference room and started building a case file. They pulled everything from Megan and Natalie's original investigations, looked for overlaps, connections, anything that might link the cases beyond the obvious similarities. Linda came in to give a statement. Brought the letter, told them everything she remembered about the day Megan disappeared, about the 8 years of searching. Karen Cooper flew to New Mexico 2 days later. Brought the note she'd received in 2000. It was wrinkled and faded, but the handwriting was clear. And the postmark, barely visible, showed the same Missouri town as Megan's recent letter. Branson, Missouri. Martinez spread maps across the conference table. Both letters came from Branson or the surrounding area. That's our starting point. We need to look at property records, residents who moved there around 1995. Anyone with connections to both New Mexico and Georgia. One of the other agents, a younger man named Chen, was already running database searches. I'm filtering for males, age 30-60 in 1995, with property in rural Missouri. Anyone who might have been in both New Mexico and Georgia that summer. Linda and Karen sat together in the corner of the room, watching the agents work. 2 mothers who'd been strangers 3 days ago, now bound by the possibility that their daughters were alive and together. "What if we find them and they don't remember us?" Karen said quietly. 8 years is a long time. Natalie was 12. She's 20 now. What if... "Then we help them remember," Linda said. "Or we make new memories. I don't care. I just want her back." Karen nodded. Wiped tears. "I thought I'd made peace with losing her. Thought I'd moved on. But the second you said those 3 words on the phone, everything came back. All the hope I'd buried. All the grief I'd tried to let go of. Our community of parents whose children come back after years of absence knows that relief and trauma arrive together. That finding someone doesn't erase the time they were gone. That joy and loss can exist in the same moment." Agent Chen looked up from his computer. "I've got something. Robert Sullivan, age 43 in 1995. Owns a farmhouse outside Branson. Purchased it in 1994. Before that, he lived in Georgia for 2 years. And before that..." He paused. "He has a traffic citation from New Mexico, June 1995, 2 weeks before Megan Hayes disappeared." Martinez came over to look at the screen. "What else do we know about him?" Chen pulled up more records. Wife divorced him in 1993. Reason listed as irreconcilable differences, but there's a note here about him needing psychiatric help. No criminal record, works odd jobs, keeps to himself. Why was he in New Mexico in June 1995? Doesn't say, but the citation was issued in Silverton. Linda stood up. That's my town. He was in Silverton 2 weeks before Megan disappeared? According to this, yes. Martinez looked at the timeline. He was in Georgia in 1994 and early 1995, moved to Missouri in late 1994, was in New Mexico in June 1995 when Megan disappeared, was back in Georgia in August 1995. She stopped, looked at Karen. When did your daughter disappear? August 22, 1995. Chen pulled up more records. Sullivan has a speeding ticket from Georgia dated August 20th, 1995, 2 days before Natalie Cooper went missing. The room went quiet. Martinez looked at the map, at the dates, at the pattern emerging. He was in both places, right before both girls disappeared, and he owns property in rural Missouri where both letters were postmarked from. Torres said what everyone was thinking. He took them. Sullivan took both girls. Martinez nodded. We need to get to that farmhouse, now. Within 2 hours, the FBI had organized a tactical team, pulled records on Robert Sullivan's property, a farmhouse on 40 acres outside Branson. No close neighbors, isolated location. Perfect for someone wanting to stay hidden. Martinez told Linda and Karen they had to stay in Silverton, that this was an active operation and they couldn't be there. Linda wanted to argue, wanted to be there when they found Megan. But Martinez was firm. If your daughters are there, they're going to need you calm and ready to help them adjust, not traumatized from witnessing a raid. Let us do our job. I promise we'll call you the second we know anything. Linda and Karen waited in Linda's living room. Didn't talk much. Just sat together holding coffee they didn't drink, watching the clock, waiting for the phone to ring. Linda thought about Megan, about what 8 years might have done to her, about whether she'd recognize her own mother, about what kind of life she'd been living in that farmhouse in Missouri. Karen was thinking the same things. What? If they're not okay? What if he hurt them? Then we help them heal, Linda said. Whatever it takes. The phone rang at 6:47 p.m. Linda grabbed it. Mrs. Hayes, this is Agent Martinez. We found them. Both girls. They're alive. Linda couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, just held the phone while tears poured down her face. Mrs. Hayes, are you there? Yes, Are they okay? Physically, they seem fine. Emotionally, it's going to be complicated. They've been living under different names, completely isolated. It's going to take time, but they're alive, and they're safe now. Linda looked at Karen, who was staring at her with desperate hope. Both of them? Linda asked. Natalie too? Yes, both girls. We're bringing them to a medical facility in Springfield, Missouri for evaluation. You and Mrs. Cooper should fly out tonight. They're going to want to see you. After Linda hung up, she and Karen held each other and cried. 8 years of searching, 8 years of not knowing, and now their daughters were alive. Not the 12-year-old girls they'd lost. 20-year-old women who'd lived an entire teenage life somewhere else. But alive. Linda called her sister to book flights. Karen called her husband. They'd be in Missouri by midnight. Their daughters were coming home. Linda Hayes and Karen Cooper landed in Springfield, Missouri at 11:43 p.m. on March 18, 2003. They'd flown through the night, barely speaking, both trying to prepare themselves for what came next. Their daughters were alive. After 8 years, both girls were alive. But Agent Martinez had been clear on the phone. The girls had been living under different names, completely isolated from the outside world. They didn't know they'd been missing, didn't know their families had been searching, and they might not remember their mothers. A local FBI agent picked them up from the airport and drove them to Springfield Medical Center where Megan and Natalie were being evaluated. The drive took 20 minutes. Neither Linda nor Karen spoke, just stared out the windows at the dark Missouri landscape, thinking about daughters they hadn't seen in 8 years. Agent Martinez met them in the hospital lobby. She looked tired, but relieved. They're on the 4th floor. Medical team has checked them over. Physically, they're healthy. No signs of physical abuse. But psychologically, she paused. They've been told they were someone else for 8 years. That's going to take time to process. Can we see them? Linda asked. Yes, but there's something you need to understand first. The man who took them, Robert Sullivan, he convinced them that they were his daughters, told them their names were Emily and Rachel, set up their rooms to match his actual daughters' rooms. His real daughters died in a car accident in 1993. Martinez chose her words carefully. He couldn't accept that they were gone. So he replaced them. Karen's voice shook. He made them think they were his. Dead children? Yes. He didn't hurt them physically, didn't chain them up or lock them in rooms, but he isolated them completely. No school, no friends, no contact with the outside world, just him and the farmhouse and the identities he'd created for them. Linda felt sick. For 8 years he convinced them they were someone else? Yes. When we found them, they called him Dad. They insisted their names were Emily and Rachel. They didn't understand why we were arresting him. They thought we were taking them away from their father. This is what kidnapping looks like when it doesn't involve violence. This is what happens when someone steals not just bodies, but minds. When captivity is disguised as protection and lies become the only reality someone knows. Martinez led them to the 4th floor, stopped outside 2 separate rooms. We've kept them in different rooms for now. They're confused and scared. We've told them who they really are, shown them photos, but it's going to take time for them to accept it. I want you to be prepared. They might not recognize you. They might not believe you're their mothers. Linda looked at the door to Megan's room. Her daughter was behind that door. After 8 years. After thousands of days of not knowing. Can I go in? Martinez nodded. Take your time. And Mrs. Hayes, remember she's not 12 anymore. She's 20. She's going to be different. Linda pushed open the door. The room was typical hospital. Sterile white walls, fluorescent lights, medical equipment. And sitting on the bed in a hospital gown, looking small and lost, was Megan. Except she wasn't the Megan Linda remembered. The 12-year-old with blonde ponytail and bright smile was gone. This was a young woman, 20 years old, hair longer, darker blonde, face thinner, older, but the eyes were the same, green, cautious, uncertain. Megan looked up when Linda entered. No recognition, no emotion, just wariness. Hi, Linda said, her voice breaking. I'm your mother, your real mother, Linda Hayes. Megan stared at her. I don't know you. I know, but you're my daughter. Your name is Megan Hayes. You were 12 years old when you were taken. From Silverton, New Mexico, June 15th, 1995. My name is Rachel, and my dad didn't take me. He's my dad. Linda moved closer slowly, sat down in the chair beside the bed, pulled out her phone, had photos ready, photos she'd looked at every day for 8 years. This is you, on your 5th birthday, and this one is from your first day of 6th grade. And this... Her voice cracked. This is the last photo I took of you, the morning before you disappeared. Megan looked at the photos. Her expression didn't change. That's not me. That's someone else. That's you, sweetheart. I know you don't remember. I know someone told you that you were Rachel. But you're Megan. You're my daughter. And I've been looking for you every day for 8 years. Megan's hands started shaking. She looked at the photos again. Looked at Linda. I don't understand what's happening. I know. And it's okay. You don't have to understand everything right now, but I need you to know. You were loved. You are loved. I never stopped looking for you. If you've ever tried to convince someone that their entire life is a lie, that the person they've called father for 8 years is actually their kidnapper, you know the impossible position Linda was in. Megan started crying. Not because she recognized Linda, but because everything she'd believed about her life was collapsing. "Where's my dad? Where's Emily? They said she's here too, but they won't let me see her." "Emily is—" Linda took a breath, tried to explain the impossible. "The man who raised you, Robert Sullivan, he lost his real daughters in 1993, Emily and Rachel. They died in a car accident. He couldn't accept that they were gone. So he took you and another girl, Natalie. He convinced you that you were Emily and Rachel. But you're not. You're Megan Hayes and she's Natalie Cooper, and we've been searching for you both for 8 years." Megan shook her head. "No, that can't be true." "It is true, and I know it's terrifying, but you're safe now. You're going to be okay." "I want to see my dad." He's been arrested, Megan. He kidnapped you. What he did was a crime." "He didn't kidnap me. He's my father." Linda felt tears streaming down her face. "No, sweetheart. I'm your mother. I've been your mother since the day you were born, and I've spent 8 years trying to find you. Please, just let me help you." Megan pulled away, curled up on the hospital bed. "I don't know you. I don't know any of this. I just want to go home." "You are going home. To Silverton. To your real home." "That's not my home. Missouri is my home. The farmhouse is my home." Loving your kidnapper is what victims do to survive. It's not proof of good treatment. It's proof of how completely someone controlled you. Megan had spent 8 years being told she was Rachel Sullivan. 8 years with Robert as her only family. 8 years in a constructed reality that was easier to believe than the truth. And now Linda was asking her to let all of that go. To accept that everything she remembered was a lie. To trust a stranger who claimed to be her mother. It was too much. Too fast. Too impossible. Linda stayed with Megan for 2 hours, talking quietly, showing her photos, telling her stories about her real childhood, about Silverton, about their house on Cedar Street, about Megan's room that Linda had kept exactly as it was. Megan listened, but didn't respond. Just sat on the bed, looking at the photos like they were artifacts from someone else's life. Finally, a nurse came in and said Megan needed to rest. Linda stood up reluctantly. "I'll be back tomorrow. And the next day. And every day after that until you believe me. Until you remember. Or until you're ready to come home even if you don't remember." Megan didn't answer. Just looked at her with those green eyes that Linda had seen every day in her dreams for 8 years. Linda left the room. Found Karen in the hallway. She looked just as devastated. "Natalie doesn't remember me either. She thinks I'm lying. She thinks Robert is her father and I'm trying to take her away from him." They sat together in the waiting room. 2 mothers who'd found their daughters only to discover their daughters didn't know them. Agent Martinez came to check on them. "This is normal. It's going to take time. Maybe weeks or months. But they will adjust. They will accept the truth. You just have to be patient." "How long did he have them?" Linda asked. "In that farmhouse. What did he do to them?" Martinez sat down across from them. "From what we can piece together, he took Megan first. June 1995. Drove her to Missouri. Set up a room for her that matched his daughter Rachel's room. Told her she'd been in an accident, that she'd forgotten her past, but she was safe now. Homeschooled her. Kept her isolated." "And Natalie?" 2 months later. August 1995. Same method. Told her she was Emily. Set up her room. Convinced her that her memories of Georgia were confusion from the accident. Karen's voice was hollow. "He made them believe they were his dead daughters." "Yes, and over time they accepted it. Because they were 12 years old, and he was an adult, and he was all they had. Because believing him was easier than facing the truth. Martinez continued. He wasn't violent, didn't lock them in rooms, let them move around the farmhouse and the property, but he monitored everything, controlled everything, made sure they never had contact with the outside world. How did Megan send the letters? Linda asked. Martinez pulled out a file. She told us, starting about 6 months ago, Sullivan's control started slipping. He's 51 now, getting older. The isolation was taking a toll on him too. He started making trips to town, to Branson, for supplies. Would sometimes leave the girls at the farmhouse alone for a few hours, or bring them but leave them in the truck while he went into stores. And Megan used those moments. Yes, she'd been watching for months, memorizing the route to town, counting how long he spent in stores, looking for opportunities. She wrote letters, one for her, one for Natalie. Just 3 words because that's all she had time to write. I'm not alone. Because she knew if her mother got a message saying she wasn't alone, someone might make the connection, might realize there was another girl. Linda felt her chest tighten. She was trying to save both of them. Yes, she could have written, "Help me," or "I'm alive," or given an address. But she wrote, "I'm not alone," because saving herself wasn't enough. She wanted Natalie saved too. Karen wiped tears. When did she send them? The first one was 3 years ago, Natalie's. She dropped it in a public mailbox in Branson when Sullivan left them in the truck for 15 minutes. She'd addressed it to Natalie's parents in Georgia. Must have memorized the address from something Sullivan had. But the letter never made it. Got lost in the mail somehow. That's why we never got it, Karen said. The second attempt was a year later. Just a scrap of paper this time, easier to hide. I'm not alone. She dropped it in the same mailbox. That one made it to you. And the recent one? 3 weeks ago, Sullivan took them to town, left Megan in the truck while he went into a hardware store. She'd been preparing for months, had an envelope ready, addressed to Linda Hayes in Silverton, dropped it in the mailbox and got back in the truck before he returned. She said she didn't try to run because running would only save her. The letter might save both of them. Our community of survivors knows that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not escape. Sometimes it's, staying long enough to make sure nobody else gets left behind. 3 days later, Linda took Megan back to Silverton. Megan was silent the entire flight. Stared out the window. Didn't speak. When they got to the house on Cedar Street, Megan stood on the front porch, looking at it like it was a stranger's home. Linda opened the door. This is where you grew up, where you lived for 12 years before you were taken. Megan walked inside slowly, looked at the living room, the kitchen, the photos on the walls. Linda led her down the hallway. This is your room. I kept it exactly how you left it. She opened the door. Megan stepped inside, looked at the pink walls, the stuffed animals, the books, the bed. This was mine? Yes, all of it. Megan sat down on the bed, picked up a teddy bear, looked at it like she was trying to remember. I don't know this place. I know, but maybe you will, eventually, or maybe you won't. And that's okay too. We'll make new memories. Megan looked up at her. Why did you never stop looking? Because you're my daughter. That's what mothers do. But you didn't know if I was alive? I knew, I felt it. Every day for 8 years I knew you were out there somewhere. Megan was quiet for a long moment. Then, he told me I was Rachel. He told me my mother and sister died in the accident. He said he was all I had left. He lied. Your real family is here. I'm here. And I'm never letting you go again. I don't know how to be Megan. Then we'll figure it out together. Over the following weeks, Megan started to adjust. Started to remember small things. The smell of Linda's cooking. The sound of wind through the desert. the shape of mountains against the sky. She met with therapists who specialized in recovered missing persons, started to understand what had happened to her, started to accept that Robert Sullivan wasn't her father. He was the man who'd stolen 8 years of her life. She talked to Natalie on the phone. They'd both been told they were sisters for 8 years. Now they were trying to figure out how to be themselves. 6 months after being found, Megan started college, enrolled at a community college in Albuquerque, said she wanted to study psychology, wanted to understand how identity works, how memory works, how people survive trauma. A year after being found, she went back to Missouri. Not to the farmhouse, that had been seized by the FBI, but to the cemetery where Robert Sullivan was buried. He'd died in prison 6 months into his sentence. Heart attack. Megan stood over his grave for a long time. Linda stood beside her. "I loved him," Megan said finally. "For 8 years I loved him because he was all I had. That doesn't make him less of a criminal, but it makes me feel like I betrayed you. Like loving him means I didn't love you. You were 12 years old. You survived the only way you could. That's not betrayal, that's survival. Do you hate him?" Linda thought about it. "I hate what he did. I hate that he stole you. But I can't hate him completely because he kept you alive. That doesn't excuse kidnapping. But it means you survived. And I'm grateful for that, even though I'll never forgive what he did. He really thought we were Emily and Rachel, even at the end. He kept saying, 'Those are my daughters. I saved them.' He was broken. That doesn't make what he did okay, but it makes it complicated." Megan looked at the gravestone. "I'm not Rachel Sullivan. I'm Megan Hayes. And you're my mother. I'm starting to remember that." 2 years after being found, Megan wrote an article for a national magazine about recovered missing persons, about what it's like to discover your life is a lie, about loving your kidnapper while knowing they're a criminal. The article ended with this: "I was 12 when I was taken. I was 20 when I was found. I lost 8 years. Lost my childhood, my identity, my family. Robert Sullivan didn't give me a life. He stole one. Everything he provided, the food, the shelter, the love, was maintenance of a crime. Taking care of me didn't make him a father. It made him a kidnapper who kept his victims alive. But I survived. And so did Natalie. We survived because we had each other. Because we found ways to send messages even when we didn't remember our real names. Because I wrote, 'I'm not alone,' instead of running. Because saving both of us mattered more than saving just myself." My mother never stopped looking. For 8 years, she searched. For 8 years, she believed I was alive when everyone told her to give up. She was right. I don't remember most of my childhood. Don't remember Silverton or my house or my 12th birthday. Those memories are gone, maybe forever. But I remember my mother buying me coffee on my first day of college. Remember her holding my hand when I had nightmares. Remember her saying, "You don't have to remember who you were. We'll figure out who you are now." My name is Megan Hayes. I was missing for 8 years, but I came home. If you're searching for someone, if you've been searching for years, don't stop. Don't give up. Because sometimes the lost get found. Sometimes letters with 3 words crack open cold cases. Sometimes mothers who refuse to give up bring their daughters home. I'm not alone. I never was. Because someone was always looking. If this story reminds you that some missing children do come home, that searching isn't always futile, remember this. Robert Sullivan was a kidnapper. Not a grieving father. Not a broken man who deserves understanding. A criminal who stole 2 girls and destroyed 2 families because he couldn't cope with his own loss. The fact that he didn't use violence doesn't make the crime less severe. Kidnapping is kidnapping. Theft is theft. Someone is still missing. Someone is still searching. Don't stop looking. Don't stop hoping. Because Megan Hayes came home. And her story Doesn't belong to her kidnapper. It belongs to her mother who never gave up. That's the truth that matters.